وسلم أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. What we say very quickly a lot of times in the beginning of the khutbah is that as a Muslim, we give open testimony that there's no God but Allah, and we give open testimony that Muhammad is his messenger and slave servant of Allah. This is called the Shahada or the Shahadatain. And the Shahadatain simply means it's two Shahadas. The first Shahada is, I bear witness that there's no God but Allah. The second Shahada is, I bear witness that Muhammad is the messenger and slave servant of Allah. So when we become a Muslim, this is what we say in front of a group or in front of somebody, or if there's nobody around, you say it to yourself because the angels are there and Allah is always watching you. But it is a voluntary commitment that you, the individual, has decided within their life that they're going to live their life recognizing that God created them, God provided guidance for them, and that Muhammad is the one who demonstrated that guidance as a human being for all times. So when we open up the khutbah, or when you hear most Muslims just start talking about some serious subject, they will say, I bear witness there's no God but Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad is the messenger of Allah. So, I want to read some from Quran, verses from Quran. And for those who fear Allah, He ever prepares a way out. For those who fear Allah, He will make things easy for them. For those who fear Allah, He will remove the evil deeds from him and will enlarge his reward. So, what is Allah telling us is that in times of stress, in times of trouble, in times of strange things happening in your life that you can't figure out, Allah is telling us that He will get us out of those strange things. He will get us out of those tough situations. But there's a key. Just like you have a key to open the door and go inside, without that key, you can't go inside. So the key for Allah's activity in our life is for us to give Him respect. So we use the word fear. It's written down here as fear, but it's really respect. It's a high form of respect. So for those who, and the Arabic word is taqwa, and it's loosely translated as fear, but it's more adequately translated as a high form of respect, or awe. You know, you see something that you have a lot of respect for, you have a lot of awe for it, it kind of overpowers you. So Allah is telling us, says, for those who have respect for Allah, He ever prepares a way out for them. So we're always looking for what Allah has prepared for us as a way out, even though in our mind we don't see a way out. So there was an example of that when we look to the history of our prophet. When he first started telling people about Islam, everybody in town hated him, except for his close friends. I'm talking about they hated him so bad that they threw all their stuff out in the middle of the street, told people they couldn't trade with them, they couldn't give him any money, they couldn't give him any food. Then they ran him out of town. And they tried to kill him. So this is my message I always tell the youngsters, because youngsters try to say, well, I'm young, I got to get in the street, and I got to do this, and maybe when I get older, I think about being a Muslim. It was a young man who was his cousin named Ali. I think he became a Muslim at 8 years old. And I think at this point in time, he was about 12 years old. So what he told the Muslims, he said, look, I will lay in his bed as he escapes, because they had a plot to kill him. And it was about the different tribesmen with their spears, they came in and they said, well, we'll kill him all together so nobody can lay the blame on any one particular tribe. So Ali said, when the prophet escapes to the next town, Medina, which is like from here to Portland, he said, I will lay in his bed so they'll be watching me and thinking that he's still in the bed. This is what Ali did as a kid. And they watched him all night. They had a plan when they was going to do it. And when they broke in there and pulled back the covers, it was Ali. Muhammad had it gone. Now, Allah will prepare a way out. So him and his partner, one of his best friends, Abu Bakr, they were moving fast, and they saw a cave, and they went into the cave. And I guess the entrance was something like right here. And maybe they were standing like somewhere behind the cave, and the enemies came, and they went to the cave, and Abu Bakr was shaking, he was sweating, he was scared. He says, they're right there. They're going to see us. And the Prophet said in Arabic, I think it's, Allahu marana, Allahu marana. Allah is with us. Allah is with us. And the enemy came to the cave, right up to the door. And they saw two things they saw. A bird's nest, and the bird on the nest with the eggs, and a spider's web across the cave. And they said, well, they couldn't be in here. They would have broke the spider's web. Or they couldn't be in here. They would disturb the bird's nest. And they turned around and left. Now, this is just a story. But it's a story telling us that even though the situation looks absolutely bleak, no way out, you still have to have faith in Allah, that He will make a way out for you. And Allah tells us over and over and over and over again in the Quran, Allah will make a way out for the believers. And it says Allah can help you from a position that you see not. So we're thinking in our minds, can't nobody help us? Ain't nobody gonna help us. We don't understand it, we don't see it, but Allah can help us. So that Arabic term for fear of Allah, or high respect for Allah, is taqwa. A lot of times you hear people speak, Islamic speakers, they're always throwing Arabic words out there. Not for you to understand it, but to let you know that they know. It's really a sad game they play. Because they're talking to you in English, you understand English, and they start speaking Arabic. Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So, what is that proving? It's like them validating themselves. I study Arabic. See, I study Arabic. But the point of trying to get the message across is what the point is when you're trying to have a conversation with somebody, not trying to show somebody how much you study. So, the word taqwa, you will hear that word thrown around a lot. And it will be explained to you as a fear of Allah. But it's really high respect. Now, when I say high respect, it does reach the level of fear in a sense. Because, see, we can have respect for somebody or something. Let me give you an example. If you see a tractor trailer coming down the street, and it's speeding, it's past the speed limit, are you gonna be at the crosswalk across the street like this? You know how we do. Looking around like, you better stop. I'm the pedestrian. I got the right of way. No, you're going to get right back up on that sidewalk and let that tractor trailer go by. Boom! Let that wind hit you like that. Because you have a different sense of respect. You have a fear almost. Because if you step out there and he don't stop, that's you. Go run right over you. So that's why I'm trying to explain this thing. When we say fear and a high form of respect, it kind of borderlines. It is kind of a type of fear that when Allah says don't eat pork. This is just a small example. And we with our friends and everybody getting pizza and they got pepperoni on it. So the thing comes around to you and you don't want to look different amongst your friends or look out of line. And so you say, that's all right, I'll pass. And somebody said, why, are you a Muslim or something? And then you want to say, all right, give me a piece. See, you have respect for Allah, but you don't have that fear to where you got the courage within yourself and say, yeah, I'm a Muslim, I don't eat pork, so what? And let the pizza go on around you, see? So it comes to that point in your life sometime where it is a certain kind of fear because you don't want to look like, and before Allah, to please your friends, I'm going to eat this pork. You know, that's kind of silly. I just use that as a small example, but there are many other examples that we can use. Like when it's time to pray. You know, when it's time to pray, sometimes we watching TV. I mean, we all go through this, and we're comfortable, and you know, it's time to pray, and we know it's time to pray, and we know we're supposed to pray, but we just sit there and let the prayer go by, you know. So we respect the prayer, but we don't have enough respect to where it reaches a fear type of thing, to where we want the angels looking at us, or we're gonna stand before Allah and say, "Why didn't you get up and pray?" Well, I don't know, man. You know, so these different stages in our life, different things that we do. But Allah is telling us that for those of us who fear Allah, He will make things easy for them. For those who fear Allah, He will remove the evil deeds from him and will enlarge His reward. Now, that's another one. That the sins we have committed, the wrongs that we have done, whether consciously or unconsciously, or before we was Muslims or after we was Muslims, Allah can remove all that. But we got to show some type of respect. And I'm going to get off that subject because I think, you know, we got the message through. So I want to go right now into, Allah gives us 5 principles. Or they say 5 pillars. So, you know, a pillar, those big, huge columns that hold buildings up. You see, like in the Romans, you see the big, huge pillars. They call them pillars. But so Allah gives us 5 pillars. And these pillars is what upholds our life. All of our life. And the first one is faith, or iman. And this is belief in Allah. We have faith that there is a God. The second one is prayer, or salat. And the prayer is given out to us as 5 daily prayers. The morning prayer, the noon prayer, the afternoon prayer, the evening prayer, then the night prayer. 5 prayers. The next one is charity, or zakat. The zakat is that the money that we have doesn't belong to us. Allah allowed us to get the money. And I know people think, well, I got the job, I made the money, it's my money. But then we got to connect things. It was Allah that gave you life and the ability to go to the job and work to get the money. So Allah gave you the money. Then Allah wants you to do with the money what He asked you to do, which is zakat. What does zakat do? Zakat redistributes the money to people who don't have no money, to people who are sick and can't work, to people who got a little bit of money and they need to have more money to pay some of their bills, or people run into emergencies. You know, where somebody steals all their money and knocks them down, steals all their money. Now they can't pay their bills, they can't buy no food. So the zakat is in a fund waiting for someone who needs the money to request the money, and it's there for the Muslims who have money to be able to dispose of that money to help their other Muslim brothers and sisters. So it's a form of social, taking care of people in a social way. So that's why it's obligatory. That means it's necessary. You have to give zakat. You can't have your money, you know, and say, oh, this is mine. Ain't nobody I work get this. Nobody can have none of this. Now, I might give a bum on the street $1, but I ain't giving no zakat. What you talking about? See, that's the wrong attitude. Because the very next day, bloop, Allah can flip the script for you where you can't work. You're not getting any money anymore. And you, even though you don't want to admit it, are depending on people taking care of you. In the split second it can happen. See? And then you'll see the value of zakat. You see the value of people helping you out. You see the value of people calling you, say, how you doing? You know, I'm thinking about you. You see the value of outside people looking at you as a sister or a brother and helping take care of you. So zakat, charity. The next one is fasting. You know, we're coming into the month of Ramadan, where it's mandatory that a grown-up Muslim, and the grown means when you reach the age of puberty, in those teenage years, that you start taking on the full responsibility of grown-ups. So Ramadan is one of those things. And what does Ramadan do? Ramadan strengthens us, strengthens our spirit. Because, after a whole year, your spirit gets weak. You stop praying, you stop doing the things you're supposed to do, you just kind of get weak. But that's natural, and that's normal. So Allah knows that, so He puts us back into the discipline. Like I was watching the thing with these guys here the other night about the basketball players, and they had trainers. And their trainers would come around and train them. When they got finished training, they were sore. They couldn't even walk hardly. They just had to sit there. But the training was necessary for them to when they got on the floor, they could make all the moves that they did, jumping and blocking and turning around and spinning and running down the court. If they didn't train and didn't train hard, when they got on the court, the first quarter, they'd be too tired and had to sit down and stay out the game. So Ramadan is like a training for us. Trains our spirit, trains our mind, because we read the Quran every day. It trains our soul. It trains our heart. It trains our body. Why? Because in the Ramadan, Allah says, look, I'm the master here. You're not the master. I'm the master. The stomach said, wait a minute, Allah. I'm hungry. And I want to eat right now. And I want a burrito right now. And there's a restaurant right there. And I know you, Allah, and I love you and everything, but I'm hungry. And what does Ramadan say? No, stomach. The mind chimes in and says, no, stomach, you're going to wait. This is Ramadan. You're going to put yourself in check until Maghrib time, and then we can have all the burritos that we want. And the stomach going to say, yes, master. And then the mind is given into the spirit of Allah. When it's Ramadan, no food during the daylight hours. That's the order of Allah. No food during the daylight hours. So Allah tells the mind, and then the mind checks the stomach. If Allah wasn't telling the mind, the stomach would control the mind. Because the stomach would say, I'm starving and I want to eat, and the mind said, well, let me help you figure out how we're going to get something to eat. And that's the way life is. If there's no spiritual overpowering force, then, hey, don't eat pork. You in the store, everybody else eating pork, you want a Philly steak, and so what kind of steak you got? Well, I got a pork, I got a little bacon on here, I'm going to go for it right now, you see? But we got to understand there's a power overriding us, and that's the power of Allah that tells us what to do and what not to do. And this is the Muslim life, is to follow through with that. What time is it? I know you keep checking it.
Oh, no, my phone was ringing.
Oh, what time is it? Okay. And then the last of the principles is Hajj, which is going to Mecca, to the holy city of Mecca, to visit the Kaaba. And every Muslim is required to do that at least once in their lifetime, if they can afford it. So this is something that you look into. But what do you find on the Hajj? It's a lesson in the Hajj. People come to the Hajj, and the men, they take off all of their clothes of their customs of their society. If the king comes over there with his crown and his bodyguards and everything, they're all stripped down and put on a white cloth. They're like a big, huge diaper. They just wrap it around themselves. So if you're standing next to the king, you don't know he's a king. So since you don't know he's a king, that means you don't be so, oh, you go ahead of me. Yeah, you the king, you the king. You just stand up right beside him. Get ready to make your salat. You might bump into him, And this is what, before Allah, the king and the janitor have the same weight in terms of who they are as a human being. The king, the highest, and the janitor as the lowest, has the same weight before Allah as they, in terms of them being a human being. And this is the beauty of Islam, is that we shouldn't have no hesitation in speaking up for what's right. Whoever it is, because what's right is what's right. Well, I'm not going to say nothing to my boss because he might fire me. A lot of people on jobs right now, they're unhappy with it. They get mistreated, but they're not going to say nothing to the boss because they might fire them. And I could tell you stories about when Muslims became Muslims and they wanted to have a place to pray, but they was afraid to ask because they thought the boss might fire them. And it was Imam Muhammad who told them, said, look, if you think that's going to be a problem, then you be the best employee on the job. Then when you go to ask them, say, look, I need to have 15 minutes to make my noon prayer. Is there a space that you get? Well, we can't. I'm sorry, we can't let. He said, look, you see my work record here? Being a Muslim is responsible for that. If you want me to keep my same dignity as a worker that you enjoy, I need to be able to make my prayer. Man, Muhammad said, tell them that. And if they don't give you the space right then and there, they're going to figure out a way that you can get the space because they do respect you as a worker. Why? Because the Muslim doesn't come to the job at 9 o'clock at 9:05. He's there at 8:45. He done got all his stuff lined up and ready to go. When you walk in the job, you see, oh, there's Muhammad. Everybody else comes dragging in here, rushing in, trying to hit the time clock before 9 o'clock and all that old funny time stuff. He see you being responsible, and he respects that. When it's break time, everybody go take a smoke break. You know, you somewhere sitting reading. You see, the break is over, you back at work, doing your job. Everybody else come running back in there. Same with lunch. Same with leaving early in the evenings. You know, people want to leave early, you know, with my wife, you know, I got to pick my son up from school and everything. But you put in your time from 8 o'clock to 4 o'clock, whatever the hours are. And he recognizes that as an employer. So he respects you and values you over the other employees. So when you go to ask for prayer time, he's more willing to give it to you. So these are some of the things, not because we love the job, not because we love the employer, but because we love Allah and we're following Allah's rules. Do you do the best? Whatever you're at, you do your best. Because we're going to get graded by how we worked on that job as a human being. It has nothing to do with your boss. It has nothing to do with your teachers in school. It has nothing to do with your wife. It has nothing to do with your husband. It has to do with you and Allah. You do the best you can. You shine the best you can so that Almighty God Allah can be pleased with your behavior. And with that, we'll close. And thanks for having patience with me for going over time. Please join me with a dua as we close. O ye that believe, Rabbana atina fit dunya hasanatan wa fil akhirati hasanatan wa qina adhaban nar. Our Lord, grant us good in this life and good in the hereafter, and save us from the fires of hell, our uncontrolled passions. Ameen. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Assalatu wassalam ala rasulihi kareem Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Amma ba'd. The Quran says, O you who believe, save yourselves and your families from the fire. I always like to quote this because it goes against everything that this society puts out and how you to live your life. This society puts out an attitude that you don't have to do nothing but sit back and somebody's going to take care of you. Jesus is going to come and save you. That's the Christian doctrine. And that's it's flowing throughout this society. You don't have to worry about nothing. Just do your thing, have fun, party life, listen to music, go to school or whatever. And Jesus is going to come back because Jesus died for your sins. I mean, how ridiculous can it be? How can somebody die for your sins? That's like you holding up a bank and they arrest him. And they say, well, he said, why are you arresting me? We said, you're going to go to jail for Iman. Because, and then they're going to tell you that you're supposed to respect that in him because he went to jail for you, even though he's innocent. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. You know, you rob the bank, you go to jail. People out here sinning, they create this world. This world was created on sin. all the things that's in the Quran, all the things that's in the Bible, all the things in the Jewish religion that we're not supposed to do, they made a world that this is what you're supposed to do. Then after you do all those things, then they tell you to believe in Jesus because he died for your sins. Now you know you're sinning. Everybody know they're sinning. You living in this world, they know they're sinning. So how do you get saved from those sins to go to heaven? Jesus died for your sins. I mean, that's paganism. That's complete stupidity if you think about it. Most people don't think about it. They just accept it. And you hear, especially black people, oh, Jesus, 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 Jesus. Well, what about Jesus? Well, he died for my sins because I'm getting ready to sin tonight with my wife's best friend. I'm going to sin with her, you know. And so, but Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. So, in Islam, we don't believe that. We don't say Jesus is going to save you. Allah says for you to, it says, oh, you who believe, save yourself and your families from the fire, the hellfire. So we all have a responsibility. The responsibility is on us to take care of our business like we're supposed to. We're going on to say that one learned Muslim is harder on the devil than 50,000 ignorant worshipers. And what is the message in this? Is that you can say you believe in God, you can say you're a Muslim, you can say you're a Christian or whatever, but you can also just be a worshiper, ignorant worshiper. If somebody asks you, are you a Muslim? Yes, I am. You see, I got on my hijab. You see my beard is 6 feet long. You see my pants to my ankles. See, I know how to say Allahu Akbar, Yeah, so that makes you a Muslim. See? That's what you call an ignorant worshiper. But when it comes time to doing something to improve the society, you don't see them. You don't see them helping their brother. You don't see them feeding the poor. You don't see them building houses for homeless people. You don't see them. All you see them walking around in these costumes. So Allah is telling us, Prophet Muhammad is telling us that we should seek knowledge. We should understand our religion. That's the point here. We should understand our religion. And that means we read, we study, we get a good understanding. Now I'm going to show you how Allah broke that trend of ignorant worshiping. Because, see, when a lot of people do the same thing and call it religion, then you do the same thing they're doing, even though what they're doing is totally ignorant. But it's because everybody else is doing it. So you want to fit in. Now, this is what was happening. There was a time when people used to sacrifice their children to God. And that was looked as a big deal. Like your first son or your first daughter, they would go to the temple and have the people around, and they would cut their throat, let the blood run out, and everybody would, and they would think that this dude, John Johnson, whatever his name was a deep dude, man, a holy dude. He could come out into the street, man, and put on his stuff and walk around, and people would see him, man, oh, that's Big John. Yeah, well, what's about Big John? He sacrificed his first son to the god Numa Muma, or the moon god. He sacrificed his son. That was a thing. People did that in reality. This is not a cartoon or something made up. People was doing this all over the world. So how did Allah stop this? He took Abraham, one of his prophets, one of his sincere and deep prophets, who followed him to the letter. And in a dream, he told him, look, I want you to sacrifice your son. And he said, well, if you commanded it, I'm going to do it. So he went to his son. He said, look, I saw this in the dream that I'm supposed to sacrifice you tomorrow at 10 o'clock. Now, this is how people are. Guess what the son said? If that's what God told you to do, I'm ready. He didn't say, oh, hell no. What? Man, I got a date tomorrow night. Hell no. He said, if that's what Allah told you, I'm ready. So they both went the next day to the altar, laid his son out there. Now Abraham was hesitant, but he knew this is what Allah told him to do. And he took the big blade and held it up in his hand, and he was getting ready to strike his son with it. And all the people was gathering around watching this. He's getting ready to strike his son with it, and Allah stopped him. Hold it! The blood of your son will not help me at all. He has to live his life for himself and make his own decisions in life. You have fulfilled the task. I only instructed you to do this so that you will go through with it to a certain point to show the people. Say, remove your son and put a lamb on there and sacrifice the lamb and feed the people. That was momentous because the people was hungry, starving. So this ignorant worshiper thing, being one learned Muslim is better than 50,000 ignorant worshipers. So Allah chose Abraham and his son to demonstrate, to get away from that foolishness. All these crazy rituals and things. Talking about you a serious Muslim, you a serious believer in God, but you're not doing nothing for the people. So he took the lamb, the sheep, sacrificed the sheep, took the meat and fed the people. So now what was more beneficial? Him walking around as the big time super believer in God because he killed his son, or the people being fed and not being hungry anymore? What was more beneficial? So see, there's a difference between being an ignorant worshiper and being one learned Muslim. So this story here, which really happened in terms of, it changed the pattern of society. Changed the pattern of society. So I wanted to get that across more than anything else. That, because you guys are young, you came in to understand this at some point by marrying Jamil, and you're going to see a lot of crazy stuff out there. A lot of crazy stuff out there to turn us away, but to make us think we're doing what's right. And it's just stupidity. It's like if you can't use your common sense in this religion, if you're supposed to take your common sense and say, oh, wait a minute, let me put it over here. Okay, now let's see what the Muslims got to say. And everything they say goes against the common sense, there's something wrong. Something is wrong. Allah gave us common sense. Allah gave us common sense. So to keep that common sense working in us, to keep that good spirit working in us, we have to train. Just like them NBA players train at their combine, the NFL players train at their combine. They're like he's training at CrossFit. You have to train. If you don't work out, your muscles will start getting flabby, they start getting weak. And something. If you have to, let's say you park your car out there on the hill, and it loses its brake and it starts rolling down the street. You got to run down the street, chase it, open the door, get in, and hit the brakes. And you can't run from here to the end of the driveway because you're flabby, you're tired, you ain't got no breath in you. You see, we got to train. Not only we have to train our mind, we have to read and study. We have to train our body. We have to train our spirit. So this is what Ramadan is bringing to us. Last thing, the question is asked, why do we have to pray so much? Well, the prayer cleans up our mind. Then we have to clean up the pray. So it's a cleansing process. It cleans up our mind, it cleans up our spirit. The question is, why do we have to pray so much? 5 times a day? Why can't we just pray once a day? So the answer to that was, why do we have to wash up so much? If we don't wash up, what happens? We start to what? Smell. We start to stink after a while. Bacteria starts to build up on our system. And it's not like we go outside and jump in a mud puddle, just normal everyday living. We get sweaty, things like that. So we got to wash up. So it's the same thing with prayer. That's what prayer is, kind of like a washing up, cleaning our system out, cleaning our mind out, cleaning our spirit out. So we work as hard as we can to make those 5 prayers. We work as hard as we can to be a Muslim we work as hard as we can to understand that Allah is God. You know, it's not something somebody made up. This is a serious thing. And that Allah is the one that's responsible for us being here, being alive. Every time we do this, everybody do that. That's a breath that we took, signifying that we are alive. The air belongs to Allah. The nose belongs to Allah. We belong to Allah. So if we don't want to have any respect for Allah, do we not have respect for ourselves? You know, and we've all seen each other's here, at least Iman has. Jayla has seen you two as babies. Me and your mother and dad have seen you guys as babies. And then they show you on the machine what the baby looks like. It says, it's a little thing about this size in your hand. That's what all of us look like. They call it a zygote. It's a little bitty tiny thing. And then it grows, and it grows, and you eat, and it grows, and it grows. Now you like grown up. But this little thing came from a seed. That came from inside the male's body into the woman's body. It was just a little seed. It's not an accident that any of us are here. This was a process. So we can't claim, well, I don't have to do this and I don't have to do that. I'm different. No, we all came from the same process. And Allah is responsible for that process. That's why we have respect for Allah. Thank you for giving us life. Now that we have life, we also have guidance for that life. So we don't be fooling around in the dark. Well, what's over here? What's over here? What's up? No, we have guidance over here. There's a chair right there. You walk into it, you're going to bump it over. It's a camera right there. The guidance. It's right here. There's a guidance right here. The things we don't understand right here. Stay away from this. Don't go over there. Don't do that. Well, why not? Well, I want to do what I want to do. Are you God? Did you make yourself? How is it now all of a sudden you want to do what you want to do? You're going to go off the course. And if you go off the course, you're going to get hurt. You're going to get damaged. So we have a lot to be thankful for. That's all I want to say. Let's close with a dua. And thank you for, again, having patience with me. May Allah be at every point of your need. Bless and protect you from all known and unknown evils, today and always. On the day of judgment, may you be amongst the people that will be shaded and sheltered by the throne of Allah. May He count you worthy of His favor and reward every little you do in multiples. May all your wishes and desires be accomplished. Ameen. Jummah Prayer. Comment to Salat.